So we continue our journey with Augustine. Augustine's whole life, as we've been discovering it, through his own confession, his own testimony, his own witness to God's leading him from within, guiding him towards his fulfillment, towards true communion. Augustine's life is a journey, and I hope you also are experiencing with Augustine this journey which is life, which is leading us to be more fully alive, which can only happen when we truly relate to God, to others, to nature, to ourselves, respecting ourselves and respecting each and every creature created by God. Augustine begins this sixth book as from his experience in Milan. He had left Africa. He had left his mother there. He had fooled her, tricked her into believing that he was not going to travel, but he did. He abandoned her. And he starts this book by praying. He says, "O you who have been my hope since my youth, where were you when I sought you?" Augustine the seeker. "How was it that you had gone so far away? Had you not created me and marked me out from the four-footed beasts and made me wiser than the birds in the sky? Yet I was walking a dark and slippery path, searching for you outside myself, and failing to find the God of my own heart." Again, Augustine's heart, a restless heart, where God resides within us, calling us forth, always asking us to move on, to make progress. "I had sunk to the depths of the sea," he says. "I lost all faith and despaired of ever finding the truth." This is what was going on in his life at this point in time. Searching for the truth, being unhappy, willing to sell himself, his own life, for values which he did not believe. So here he was, he crossed the sea to escape the Manichees and search for a better life, more security, more privilege, more prestige. And no sooner does he arrive when his mother followed, Monica, ever faithful. She came after him and came to follow him all the way to Milan. She crossed the sea by herself. She made her way from Ostia, the port of Rome, all the way to Milan to be with her son. She said to Augustine that she hoped and prayed that he would find his way to her God, to the loving God. He said she redoubled her prayers and her tears, and she hurried all the more eagerly to church and hung upon Ambrose's preaching. This is Ambrose, Bishop of Milan, who welcomed Augustine with such sincerity that Augustine was astounded and attracted. And he began to participate, to go to Mass on Sunday, if not for anything else, at least to listen to the eloquence of Ambrose. And he was inspired, not by the content, but the manner of delivering the content. So he longed to get to know Ambrose, know him a little bit more. And he strived to find occasions when he could sit down and talk to him. Said there were questions I wanted to put to him, but I wasn't able to do so as fully as I wished because of the crowds who came to him. So Ambrose was very popular, and Augustine was one of those who followed. Augustine then prayed, "O God, most high, most deep, yet nearer than all else, most hidden, yet intimately present. You are not framed of greater and lesser limbs, yet you are aware whole and entire in every place." Augustine searching for a God who he always finds to be beyond. I rejoiced to find that your one and only church, the body of your only Son, that church within which I had been signed with Christ's name in my infancy, had such treasures, which he heard from Ambrose's mouth. So he began to recognize, to feel attracted to the message, to Christ and Christ's preaching through the voice of Ambrose. Lord, you began little by little to work on my heart with your most gentle and merciful hand. This, through the instrument of Ambrose, allowed Augustine to grow in faith, to understand who Christ is, to come to understand the church, the significance. And he also, by doing that, realized the hollowness of his earthly ambitions, to the point where, as an incident which he relates in this book 6 and chapter 9, when he noticed a poor beggar who was drunk and making merry. And here Augustine said, I was dragging my load of unhappiness along, and it appeared that this beggar had already beaten us to the goal. He was happy. That beggar was enjoying his intoxication, and you longed to bask in glory. I was seeking a swollen reputation by lying, because this was his profession. Fake news, to proclaim how good the emperor was, how good his patron was. It wasn't necessary, it wasn't significant to proclaim the truth, but to praise, adulation. Augustine was fed up with lies. And so it just so happens that his very close friend from Tagaste, Alypius, had gone ahead of Augustine to Rome. He had gone ahead not because to flee from the Manichees, but rather because his family had been pushing him to earn a living, to do something which would give honor to his family. So he went to Rome to study law, to become a lawyer. And this is Alypius, who had been a student in Tagaste when Augustine was teacher there during that period of his life. And while he had gone ahead to Carthage from Tagaste, he began to be fascinated and ensnared by the madness of the circuses, of the spectacle. This is Alypius, small-town boy, a well-to-do family, goes to study and gets caught up in spectacles. You brought about his correction, Augustine says to God, through my agency, but without my knowledge, so that it might be clearly your work, and not mine. Because it was when Alypius was in Augustine's class that Augustine used an example of the folly of spectacle, of going to participate in circuses, not realizing that this would touch the heart of Alypius, and it did, and it called him to conversion. But later on, having left that, he got entangled when he went off to Rome to study law in craving for the gladiatorial entertainments, to see somebody wounded and killed by another human being. So Alypius obviously had this tendency. He had, from his youth and then into his young adulthood, addictions which he fell for very easily. So when it came time for Augustine to move on to Milan, Alypius decided to abandon his time in Rome, abandon his profession as lawyer, and to stay with, to be with his very close friend, Augustine. So much of this book, 6, is about friendship, about the influence one upon another, how people who search for truth and search for God, if they are sincere and authentic, searching together, they find beyond companionship, very close to one another. Another friend as well, Nebridius, shared the same aspirations and was tossed to and fro along with us, Augustine says, for he was an ardent fellow seeker of the happy life. He was from Carthage, a village outside of Carthage. He left his father's fine estate. He left everything. And Augustine says that his home, he left his mother, who did not attempt to follow him, unlike Augustine's own mother. So this weighed on Augustine, that his mother was with him. But they were as they were settling in Milan, as they were listening to Ambrose, the sensation among them, that group of three very close friends, was, how long are we to go on like this? Occupying ourselves in things that will not bring us true happiness. So since my 19th year, he said, when I had first been fired with passion for the pursuit of wisdom by reading Cicero's Hortensius, now it was my 30th year, sticking fast in the same muddy bog. So sticking fast is not something that was typical of Augustine. He moved on. He was a searcher. And so he was ready. He was ready to be called. He was ready to recognize the experience of conversion, which was at his doorstep. I put off being converted to the Lord, he said, from day to day. I pushed away from me the day when I would live in you. I was enamored of the happy life. I feared to find it in its true home. Augustine's searching for that true home. I fled from it, even as I sought it. And listen to this. He says, I was too stupid to realize that as Scripture testifies, no one can be continent except by your gift. How he belittled himself publicly. The people who are reading this book, the people who are hearing it proclaimed, his family members, the people who he was serving as bishop, they were reading and hearing this. Augustine confessing. Alypius, he says, dissuaded me from taking a wife, because Augustine thought it was time to settle. His mother, Monica, was pushing him to settle, to take a wife. But then he realized, no, I can't do that. It would be impossible for us to live together in carefree leisure, devote ourselves to philosophy, as we had long desired. Because this is what was on his mind. But yes, lust for woman, but also the search for truth and for happiness, and eating away at his heart the words that he heard from Ambrose. So a marriage. Monica, not yet Saint Monica, ambitious, was looking for a way, an arranged marriage for her son, Augustine, so that he would be acceptable, he would be secure, and she hoped that he would also be taken into the fold of faith. His mother, Monica, arranged a wedding. It was made on behalf of Augustine. She was about 2 years below marriageable age, so he had to wait. While he waited, he was not chaste. We are told just before this book ends how Augustine talks about how many of my friends and I were greatly exercised in mind as we talked together and shared our loathing of the annoying upheavals inseparable from human life. We almost made up our minds to live a life of leisure, far removed from the crowds. We would set up this place of leisurely retirement in such a way that any possessions we might have would be made available to the community, and we would pool our resources in a single fund. This based on the sincerity of friendship. This was his dream, his ideal, which we heard before in Book 4, that ideal that we hope to join as friends and the joy of laughing and searching together. But meanwhile, he says, my sins were multiplying. For the woman with whom I had been cohabitating was ripped from my side, being regarded as an obstacle to my marriage. And there we see the hand of Monica. So deeply was she engrafted into my heart that it was left torn and wounded and trailing blood. She had returned to Africa, vowing to you that she would never give herself to another man. The son I had fathered by her was left with me. So Augustine, as we finish this book 6, is how he loved these friends for their own sake, and felt myself loved by them for mine. How torturous were these paths. But lo, here you are, he says. You rescue us from our wretched meanderings, again the journeying, and establish us on your way. You console us and bid us, run. I will carry you. I will lead you. and I will bring you home. So hopefully you too, as you read with Augustine, you experience with Augustine that journey, the journey home, to be where all we are called to be, that you can know that it's God searching for you, God searching through you, God searching in you. I urge you, I encourage you, talk to those you love. Share your experience of faith with them. Share your journey, as Augustine is sharing his journey of faith with us from 16 centuries beyond, through this book, through the Confessions.